Hey, beautifuls. Got a Felix kitty up here in the background, coming in for a snuggle. So this is going to be a little different video than some of the ones that y'all might be used to on this channel. This is an InnerCartography Transits, where we're taking a look using the tools you see in the background back there and up on the wall up there, and here on my computer in front of me. I'll be posting what I'll be talking about tonight in the descriptions below after this video. So this is about looking at the world around us, the way life is, and it's also looking at how things such as astrology and society and culture are playing out around us and inviting us to a little bit different of a game. And in some cases, bringing us humblings, bringing us opportunities, bringing us challenges, bringing us all manner of experiences to learn and grow from. We can choose many ways of looking at these things. They can be hard, difficult, brutal. It can be all someone else's problem, all someone else's blamings. It can be many, many things. How we invite it into our world, how we choose to perceive it, is where our power lies. So I'm going to get into it here for a little bit. So for the past few months, about the past 6 months, on and off, we've had up to 9 planets in retrograde. It's been a very intense time. Intense time of revisiting, reevaluating, refiguring, and really coming to terms with all the different factors in our world that ask us to change, that invite us to, and in some cases, shove us off the proverbial cliff into looking at things in a different way. Within the past week and a half, we've had 4 of those planets come out of retrograde. And so what that means in a general sense is that the information and experiences that are coming at us now are new. They're not the same old as they've been in the past 3 to 6 months. It's not the revisiting of the same old stuff. It will be a revisiting of the same old stuff because the stuff that we're experiencing really isn't all that, it's not really all that complex beneath the stories, if that makes sense. If you look at our experiences as being stories that are happening in our world, whether that be stories that we're putting to it or stories that we're holding on to from our past, however that ends up working for us, that is still a story. And that story often has common themes, right? Common themes of humanity's struggle, of ancestral karma and ancestral pain, all the different pieces that make up reality the way it is and the way it was, and if we don't do something different, the way it will continue to be. So, a couple things that are helpful to know and to understand over the next couple days, for this next week. We've got gene key 50 and 3 that are in our sun and our earth signs. I'm just going to give you a little bit of data, and then I'm going to talk about what this means. So sun and earth are in gene key or gate 50, and earth is in 3. The sun is in the spleen gate, so spleen is intuitions and awarenesses. The 50 has a lot to do with corruption. How we take in data, information, concepts, information in general, and twist it. How we get it lost in transcription, lost in wrapped around in the stories inside of ourselves. We lose the truth behind the deal. We can get so wrapped up that we get lost. Our north node and our south node are still in retrograde, and they will continue to be in retrograde until January. And they're retrograding in the 20 and the 30 inside of Gemini and Sagittarius. And so it is through our voice and how we speak, as well as that that sacral energy, that life force energy that gives us that momentum to keep moving, to keep speaking. The problem is if we keep speaking on a superficial, shallow kind of level with a force behind it, we are not going to get any progression. We're not going to move forward. And so deep clarity, deep self-assurance, diving into what is your true story, no matter how ugly it might look, how messy it might be. And when we find the messy, then it's time to transmute it, right? First step, don't avoid the mess. Second step, look at the mess. Third step, do something with the mess. Put the mess to work. Bring it out and polish it up, turn it around, feel it, express it, turn it into art, turn it into language, turn it into something of value, and rise through the mess into something that has a deep worth and a deep value. The tendency right now might be to either avoid or to get so wrapped up in our emotions that we become lost. And neither of those two things are going to be supportive. The avoidant is the repressive, the reactive is the emotional, and it's going to be this pendulum swing back and forth that is just really, really going to keep us locked in this Eden loop where we just cycle back and forth between pain and repression, right? You want out of that loop, you find your pain, you look into it, you look it dead in the eyes, and you go, I see you. I see where we're at with this process. What can we do now? Where can we go with this? Remember, full spectrum. You go into the pain, you bring it out. You go into it for yourself, you bring it around. You go into it for others, and you bring it around. None of this avoidance stuff. None of this only light, right? No spiritual bypassing. The spiritual bypassing is what got us into this mess. It's what gets society and keeps society in a mess. And it's not going to take us anywhere. We're not going to be able to get by with that anymore. As all these planets come out of retrograde and all of this energy that's been happening with the virus that's been traveling through, with society and cultural norms being shook up, there's so much happening in the world right now. We got to start taking a deeper look every day. Each other, in communities, how we talk to our families, how we talk to our animal creatures, moose dogs here on the floor beside me, how we relate to everything, our technology, how we talk to our technology, how we speak around it is going to be educating it. Good to see you, Brandon. Yes. All of this deep work, however we are, in whatever way, even the thoughts we think while we're sitting on the toilet, put good reading material next to the toilet. And I don't mean just the flu stuff. I mean like stuff that takes you in for a full spectrum dive in like little short paragraphs. Some really great stuff exists out there. When I get off this video, I'll put some books in the comments that have been really supportive in that route. So South Node and North Node are in retrograde. Our future vision and our past karma, both of them are we have a chance to revisit it in this time. How can we look at our past in a different light? How can we see where we were always trying, the bane of trying, right? That's that forcing, trying to get something to happen. Right? And that can come off from self-effacing to bullish, right? We can either be so down on ourselves or we can be so bullheaded that it becomes this repressive, reactive tug of war. We don't have to force the flow of life. We can simply be the hero in our own life story. You got to get to know what your story is first, though. And what are the stories of the people around you? And how can you, as the hero of your own story, show up in a very different and more powerful way? Mercury just came out of retrograde as well, just this past couple days ago, 2 days ago. And that was in a place of inadequacy. Okay? So it says, we're not enough. Life is too bland or too boring, or one is unscrupulous, and they'll do anything. Right? And where our gift is in that is being resourceful. Where Where can we find a deep trust in life? Where can we look around and see abundance, even while the fall is happening outside and all the leaves are just dropping from the trees and it looks like, abundance is falling everywhere? We can still find it. We just get to look a little bit deeper. And in that looking deeper, we're going to have access to so much more. It is inside of the dark of the night, the dark night of the soul, that we have an ability to find our passion inside of the dark, that then no matter what comes along, it doesn't take it from us, because even in the dark, we're no longer afraid. We're no longer feeling lost. Let's see, what else is noteworthy here? Venus and Mars are in 52 and 32, so we're looking at impatience and failure. We got the new genetic code that's trying to come through, and the myth of failure. We really aren't failing. This is about ancestral reverence. This is about learning how to be a guardian. So Mars is in the archetype of the guardian. How can we show up and hold safe space for ourselves, for others, for situations? If you're a person who feels the weight of the world, then feel it and hold space for the weight of the world. Have a time where you feel and you grieve, and then you move from that grieving time to a place of empowered and rising, holding that space for where people, if they could, if they knew how to, they would want to choose that. Hold space for those who will arrive in that space. And this time there are many who are awakening. There are many who won't. And that gets to be okay too. Not everybody is going to wake up. Not everybody's going to make it. And in fact, really none of us get out of this alive, not to be crude or crass. And that is a true story. So what are we so worried about? What are we so scared about that makes us hide away our unique and sovereign and divine selves? We get to experience this divinity through human skin. It's a very unique kind of experience. So if we look at it as an adventure, if we look at it like a game, or if we look at it like a theater, where life is playing out on this grand stage, and we are characters in this story, not to the point where it makes us dismiss life and not have value to it, but where it gives us the ability to become the unique observer, the neutral observer that is outside of ourselves, looking back and going, what's going on over here? Right? It's only from having that distance while still being in it that we get to punch through, we get to break through. And from that position, we can hold a deep guardian space. We can hold and be present for all the changes that are to come. A couple other big changes that have come through is Jupiter and Saturn. Both of them just came out of retrograde as well, on the 17th and on the 10th of this month. And so Jupiter is our luck and our laws. It's how we create what we want moving forward. Jupiter is also the key that unlocks Saturn, and Saturn being the teacher, the challenges. And so both the teacher and our luck and laws, our teachers and our laws have been in retrograde. So we've been revisiting what is our past value system? What is it that we have done to earn our luck? What have we put out into the world to be able to give something that had no strings attached? Where have we embraced challenges and where have we avoided challenges? Where have, in moments of self-care, have we not been able to step up to the plate? No judgments here. There cannot be room for judgments in this work. Consistent, never-ending progress. That's what we're looking for here. That's what we can hold ourselves to. You can have an off day and go sit and binge watch or go do whatever you got to do to make it through the day. And the next day, try to get yourself a little bit more. Give yourself a little bit more work that you're doing, right? Here on the mountain, we have an accountability system and structure where each person has work that they do. We have sessions where we work with each other. We do a lot of things alone. This is not a come and community is going to be your fix-all. No. Community is support here. Community is deep love, deep compassion, deep understanding. And at the end of the day, we also each understand here that only, I'll speak for myself, I and I alone live in this skin that is me. No matter how close I become with someone, at the end of the day, this is a reality that I am honored to have an existence of inside of this skin suit. And I get to take responsibility for what goes on in here, what goes on in here, what goes in, what goes in, what goes in, and what comes out, and what comes out. And sometimes if we spend too much time with humans, we can put all the fingers pointing out. And as soon as we stop pointing the fingers out, this is where they go. They start to go at ourselves. Where have we not been enough? How is our worth not good enough? Where have we failed to show up? And really, we just need to put the fingers away. Put them away. There's no blame here. There's no judgments here. And let's do better. Let's grow more. Let's support each other. Let's see each other doing our own work in how and where we are so that we can grow bigger and stronger together. Here on the mountain, it's a hermitville. It's a solitary existence inside of the support and the love of a community who all live on the same land together. Right? And so there's a deep, deep interconnectedness that comes from recognizing what someone else is going through, even if you're not necessarily absolutely akin to it in every single moment. We understand how we are. This mountain is our greatest teacher. We surrender to that, and we also come together in union because of that. So Saturn and Jupiter are no longer in retrograde. What we're moving forward towards, okay, and this is a bit of a doozy. We've got 49 and 41, emotional reactions and fantasy. So we get to manage and work through what is the whirlwind inside of ourselves that is trying to get out and change us in the process and change the world in the process. It's going to come out through our emotional reactions. It's okay. And do something with them. Right? What's on the other end of the shadow of reaction is the gift of revolution. How are you going to revolutionize your own internal world? How are you going to revolutionize the world that you are connected to around you? In a powerful way, in a growth way. What's your trajection? Trajection, inner direction. Trajectory, where that direction's pointed. Projection, what that direction and trajection look like. 3-point view. 3 points gives us the ability to see the magic in the moment, to see multiple pathways, to see beyond just a 2-dimensional world, at least into the 3rd-dimensional world. When we start weaving these sorts of understanding with InnerCartography, I'm pointing at my computer screen that has can't quite see it here. It has the InnerCartography Transits that I've pulled. You can see here in the back of the room, there's the whole chart of all the 64. And this is the layout of these. And this gives me the ability to revolutionize how I'm feeling by identifying where the shadows are that are being shown to me through astrology, looking at my own life story and going, wow, where can I see that playing out? Where's that showing up? How is this? Oh, and then I look at the gift side of it and go, where can I be reaching towards? That's my trajection. So you go through the shadow and you reach through the wants, the needs, the desires, the urges, the impulses, all those things that feel like you can't control them. It is the route through. Just don't stop halfway. Keep going. Just keep going. Step by step. Saturn is in gate 41. It's the fantasies. Okay, it's the originator of the keys. It is the sometimes I like to think of it kind of like, imagine a spirit being came down into this world, it doesn't have a human body. It doesn't. It's not even perceivable per se on this plane. And it comes into this world and it pops into a human body and goes, "Woo! Well, this is kind of fun. I've got me a meat suit, and oh, I can do these things, and oh, look, I can affect things." And then it starts to think that it can go do and make whatever it wants happen. That would be the fantastical world of a Seti, or a source energy, an essence, a spirit coming into a human body and thinking it can do whatever it wants. And the thing is we also have to accept and live in the world the way it is. And if we can't see the world the way it is, then we're perpetually going to find ourselves disappointed and distraught. On the other end of the fantasy is the gift of anticipation. It's the ring of origin. It's like the deepest anticipation of where we could go, right? It's just different than a fantasy. Anticipation is being present in the moment. It's anticipating what could come next without a grasping, a clinging, or a planning of how you're going to get what you think could happen. It's about being in that deep present moment. Present, not future, not past, just present. And with that narrowing of where one chooses to stand, if you choose to stand there, it can feel quite painful for a time. And that's okay too. It's okay to feel as humans. It's okay to bawl our eyes out and to just feel like we're utterly losing it. When I first started to really deeply feel, it took me a long time. I grew up in a very repressive family type relationship. It was volatile, but it was also repressive. You didn't cry. Crying was a sign of weakness, and my father was military, and you didn't do that thing, leaking, crying out your eyeballs. And so when I started to finally surrender enough to feel, and life threw enough things at me that I also had no choice but to feel, I didn't know what to do with all those goddamn emotions. I didn't know how to get out of the feels once I was in the feels. Over a number of years, I learned the art of what I call cathartic emotional release, cathartic trance dancing. I don't even know. It's not a thing that I do in my head. It is a process by which I move my emotions are moving, and I move my body in relation to the emotions with music, now on a purpose, for a mission, and with tools. Because that helps me learn, helps my body learn how to go in, get what I need, and come out. Which leaves me feeling stronger and clearer, more clean. It's like having a purge. If any of you have ever been medicine tribe folks and you work with medicines that purge and that clear, this sort of work does the same sort of thing. It's not using a substance. I work with flower essences. And I work with a triple flower essence that I designed earlier this year. And one is shadow, or one is challenge, one's breakthrough, and one is stability. And so when you're in a shadow state, you take the shadow flower essence and you move until you're reaching a point inside of your being where you're like, well, I don't know what to do anymore. This is all I've got. And it's like you've laid it all out on the table and it's all a mess everywhere. At that point, I take the breakthrough, because when you have all of your shit laid out, I'm not supposed to say those things on YouTube. When you have all of your crap laid out on the table, that is when you need a breakthrough. You've already got it all laid out. Now, what are you going to do with all the puzzle pieces? What could they mean? That's when you need a breakthrough. And so it's a matter of that shift, both mentally, physically in your body as well as in your heart. Do you want a breakthrough? Do you want something different? Because sometimes it's easy to get into the emotional feels, but not to come out of them for a purpose and on a mission and really focused in that way. And if you're ready for something like that, then that cathartic emotional release process might be of a support. I have plans to come through and do a video series on that, on the different tools that I use for it, the process of it, and then to, when it feels appropriate and I'm in the middle of one, to actually video record the process of that, like what's actually happening. I just feel like it might potentially be supportive for folks. And it came with a spirit calling, so those are the ones I really listen to. Okay, one other planet came out of retrograde, and 2 other planets are still in retrograde. Pluto, our spiritual rebirth, just came out of retrograde back in the beginning of this month. And currently right now, the spiritual rebirth channel is coming through the shadow of psychosis, the pressure of why. Do you ask the question why a lot? Why do I go through this? Why did this person have to do this? Why? It's a never-ending thing, right? Psychosis's gift on the other end of the spectrum is inspiration. God is pressure. The beauty of what is that life is pressure. Nature is pressure. Right now, the seasons around us are going under a pressure as the barometric pressures are falling, the temperatures are falling, the leaves are falling. All of the energies are going back into the roots for storage over the winter. We're up here in New York State, up in the Northeast. Last year on this mountain, we got 4 feet of snow. Who knows what we're in for this year? And what do we do with that pressure? We prepare and we surrender. We prepare the best we can by reinforcing our buildings and making sure we've got everything prepped for how we handle things. It's a very simple mountain up here. At some point we'll get a little bit more tech and all of that if it comes through, and if it doesn't, keeps us good and fit through the winter. And so between preparation and surrender, we can meet what comes through. All right. I think that feels good. We do have a Neptune and a Chiron still in retrograde as well. Neptune is in retrograde in the 22, dishonor and graciousness. And Chiron, our wound, is retrograde in 21, which is all about control and authority. And so if dishonor and control are issues that are coming up inside of your world, they're there for a reason. They're there to teach you about something that you have already experienced. So if you can look back into your past and see where else you have experienced control and dishonor. Look a little bit at oppression too. Where have you been oppressed? Where have you oppressed yourself? Where are you sensitive to oppression around you? All of these things have things to teach you. Look for the lessons. That's the most important piece. Couple of last things I want to share you as far as tools for working in this time. Shut this down here. So one is this little laminate. Let's see if I can find the way to put this up. Whoa, there we go. InnerCartography of Holistic Wellness. If you look here at the center, you'll see that we've got spiritual midwifery. Right? This is a birthing into our expansiveness as a spirit being. This is where we're tending the spiritual connections. And on this side here is the inner cartography. This is the mapping. This is the caring for the physical, mental, and emotion. And it's all about integration. Those of us who work with medicines, those of us who do a lot of transformative experiences, if we do not do a really deep dive into what it is to integrate our expansions, then we can expand so far that our bubble keeps popping. And if our bubble keeps popping without that deep integration, we can be undermining the very work we're trying to do. Both are deeply necessary. And it's always a spectrum. Couple communication pieces. Relationship with a being sphere. Okay, think of ourselves as a being sphere. We're made up of all sorts of things, from different facets of multiplicity to aspects of us that are very human, aspects of us that are more divine, right? And inside of that multiplicity is all of these different ways of perceiving things. Okay, we're going to look at this 3 little circle aspect here. Imagine this as being a person. All right, and this is just 3 components. They are made up of their personality, how they express themselves. Here it's on the outside edge. This is what most people encounter is someone's personality. What's a little bit more to their core is their body. That's this skin suit aspect of things. What our body does versus how our personality acts can be 2 very different things. That relates to both the human design and the gene keys when we start looking at the I Ching lines and the profiles. We get to take a deep look at how our personality can very much differ from our body, and how we're not here to be just a personality, only surface level deep. We're here to be deeper. We're even here to be deeper still, because at the very center is spirit, right? So spirit operating through the body with then the personality showing up is really the ideal of where we want to go. And most of the time we have to encounter this from the outside in. We think the personality is who we are. We get to then learn to discover that our body is actually what takes our personality out into the world and has experiences with it. And it's really our spirit inside of our body that's here for a mission, that's here for deep learnings, right? So this gives us an idea of what our general isness is. What our notness is the things that exist outside of ourselves, our environment, the people around us. And so if we can have that 3-way relationship going on inside of ourselves, then getting into relationship with another person becomes easier, even though it's also complex. Imagine that this person A right here is the 3 rings of circles that I was just looking at over here. Imagine there was rings inside of rings. I wanted to keep the picture simple, so I left it just as 1 circle. This 1 circle represents all 3 of the ones from the previous. When you've got 2 people involved in a conversation, this person who has all of their 3 parts, this person who has their 3 parts, right? This person may have feels about this person can have feels about this person. A feels a certain way about B feels a certain way about A. In that relationship between the 2, there is a third relationship, a third being, a third energy that is being created by the interactions of what's going on down here. And please understand that on both ends of this, there is a sharing and a receiving that are happening. A sharing and receiving. What they hear about the other person and what they think they're saying, and how B picks up on what A said. What B thinks they said versus what A heard. They're very different things. And so when we can start to recognize that, we get to step out of thinking that our way or the way that we perceive something is the only way to perceive it. Because that's just not true. And boy, do we create an awful lot of messes thinking that it is true. Right? Once you get up here and you begin to have an understanding of what gets created in this relationship, then you also get to see that each person has their own feels about what's happening in the relationship, as well as this energy here can look back down on this and see what is happening below with the individuals. And so you can see that with 2 people, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lanes of language with 12 points of intersections. Right? There's a lot involved in every interaction, in every encounter, both with ourselves, and each other. And now is the time to stop avoiding, to stop procrastinating, to stop fighting, to stop arguing, to stop giving up, and be truly deeply present. And find a curiosity, find your tribe, find a community, however that works for you. As a bit of a segue, we have an InnerCartography season starting up here in November. Starting November 3rd, we'll be meeting weekly, doing delves. First will be a set through Gene Keys, and there'll be a set that goes through Human Design first, then Gene Keys, then Emotional Bridges. And there's going to be multiple years running with us simultaneously. 1st years, 2nd years, and 3rd years. And each one of them have a little bit different trajectory. And it is through the repetitiveness of coming back through and looking, scraping deeper and deeper and deeper, I'm 10 years into this particular experiment. I love inviting people to it for the first time and then watching what happens in their world as they begin to widen their perspectives, let go of old beliefs, let go of old stories, and do that inside of a community-supported container. So we do deep dives inside of a community-supported container, and that's really what it boils down to. There's several hours of homework that people get to do each week if they choose to. If you don't choose to, that's your choice. This is for the first years, this is your journey. Second years are about praxis. This is when we take practices and exercise, and we put that inside of an experiment. Okay, so that becomes more of a, are you in or are you out? Are you running this and really holding yourself to a standard, or are you not? We're not pushing you. We're just inviting you into a deeper way. Third years, fourth years all have their own particular trajection that's in mind. And so in this process, we become of a deep support to each other, and very much becomes a family. And in the wintertime, we run this online through the Zoom classes. And in the summertime, we meet on mountain. So we do the immersions and the intensives where we get to really go deeper with this process. So if any of you are interested in learning more about that, I will drop links down below in the description where you can take a peek at that and choose how you'd like to ride this ride. Much lovin's for tomorrow. Tomorrow's the full moon in Aries. I think it's a super blood moon as well. So when you look up at the moon tomorrow night, think about what you're willing to let go of. When the light is shining bright from the moon, and we can clearly see what we're willing to let go of, and we're seeing with real eyes, where we can realize what it is that we're actually doing, it's powerful. The new moon will come around soon enough, and it will be in the dark, where we'll get to trust that we start something in the dark without knowing. And it is in the brightest of the moon on the full moons where we release that which we know we no longer need. So Aries is an intense energy as well. It's very passionate. It's very fiery. It's very out there, right? So what are you going to release inside of that energy? And how are you going to do it? I'd love to hear in the comments below or share it in some other way where you're at with all this process. Lots of love to you all. Mwah. Much love from the mountain, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye for now. Till soon.